Good morning, everybody. Oh my gosh. It snowed last night. It was like raining and 40 degrees and 50 degrees, and now it's like snowy, but not that cold. So, yeah, the picture of my dog Sugar before and after, it was amazing. I mean, when I got Sugar, yeah, she had a dark look about her, like she went through some shit. She had skin issues. Her fur wasn't as fuzzy as it is today. She was, I mean, my dog, she came from the shelter. When you come from the shelter, and then, before that, who knows what kind of family she was with, who knows how many times she bred babies. I mean, this is Canton, Ohio. Who's to say what kind of experiences she had? So, yeah, when I got her, she had a lot of different issues going on, and she had a lot of anxiety too, which, of course, to be expected. So, now after her being on the protocol, you can see the puppies coming out in her face. Her eyes are brighter. Her fur is silkier. Her skin is softer, which you wouldn't know, but she doesn't have the skin issues like she did before. I mean, she's like a whole new dog. So Jilly Juice doesn't just really, reverse human conditions and human situations. It also helps with your animals. Hey, James, nice to see you, dude. Good morning, Krista. So, yeah, I mean, my dog is a whole new dog. And all of you can take your animal in whatever shape it's in and turn it into what it was originally intended. And so somebody was saying that my dog reminded them of the different animals. And for me, she reminds me of like a deer or a mouse or a little bear, because now it's like she's just so cute. I mean, I can't get over the cuteness of her. So anyway, so that was pretty cool. Um, Now I woke up this morning, and I looked at my phone, and the battery life was almost dead. I'm like, oh my God, I gotta get a new phone. I know I will at some point. But I was also thinking about I don't know what came, what gave me that thought, but I think I was watching another YouTube video. I woke up to another YouTube video. And of course, since I'm still on that, the psychopath killers and understanding their personality types and everything. And I'm like, personality. And I'm like, oh, wait, hold on a second. Myers-Briggs and the astrology and the Chinese horoscopes. And oh, I get it. Because then I'm thinking, like, I remember a long time ago. Hold on. I was thinking back to like when I took the Myers-Briggs test, and they have the different combinations of like INFJ, INTJ, ENFP, ENTJ. And I'm thinking, yeah, because there's all these different combinations. And then you see the horoscopes have like 12 different horoscopes or 12 different signs. And I'm thinking, what is this? Hey, Catherine. And I'm thinking, what is this? And why is there only like, this many personality types and this many animals for the horoscopes? And who determines a personality? And then we're looking at how our behaviors change through changing our biochemistry. How now a different personality is going to come forth, different decision-making choices are going to be brought forth. It's almost like it's going to be but it's enhanced in a way that is going to be really, I guess, what you're supposed to be as a human, working with a very even internal universe. No major fluctuations, unless, of course, you get put into an environment that will upset your homeostasis for a minute, and then you go and then level it out with the right countering forces that are following the laws of your immune system. Okay? So, and you will always make sure you maintain that sense of equilibrium once you get to that point. So I'm thinking, then what determines this Myers-Briggs? And I remember taking the Myers-Briggs in a psychology class when I was at JFK University out in Orinda, California. And I was contemplating back when I was like 19 and 2021. Oh yeah, I'm going to be a psychologist like my mom. So my friend was going to JFK University. And I'm like, well, I'm going to go to JFK University too. And that place is expensive, like $3,000 a quarter. Oh my God. So I did get like a student loan out and I did take a couple classes. I didn't finish them. Really, that's not what I was really meant for. So I didn't finish it. But I was taking some of the Myers, and you can see it online. If you go to the myersbriggs.com, MYERSBRIGGS, you answer all these different questions. And then all those answers represent something of your personality type. And then it codes it to be, and I used to be an ENFP, which is extrovert, intuitive, feeling, and perceiving. Then I took the Myers-Briggs like years and years later, and I ended up to be an ENTJ. And the difference was the J for judging, which is that's where experience comes in. That's where you're not, perceiving, now you're judging. And there's a difference, and it's not a bad thing. It's just the way in which you now look at the world and how you make your choices. Okay? So I'm thinking, why would, and I think maybe it's my life experience. I mean, I made up a story of why it changed from an ENFP to an ENTJ, and what I chalked it up to was life experience. So I didn't think too much of it. And then I've always been interested in the Chinese horoscopes, the different personality types. I mean, that's how I even tried to date, was I tried to figure out what was going to be my soulmate. And the only way I could kind of figure it out was looking at what was compatible on the charts. And so me being a tiger, the tiger personality is very fierce and a leader and aggressive and unpredictable. And I think they killed the tiger babies, or the kids that were born in the tiger years, in Asia, because they don't want to have an independent, aggressive woman in the household because they're harder to control. And so I'm like, so that's how I was able to then at least try to figure out a mate, which it's all hogwash because I married a rabbit. Okay. But, when you look at where all of these horoscopes, what seasons they fall in, that those seasons influence hormones. Okay. So with the whole thing with the horoscopes, they base it loosely on the 4 seasons and how it influences the human body, the hormones. Because those hormones some of the hormones will be more prominent during specific times of the year because of how it impacts your biochemistry, how your external environment impacts your biochemistry. But with the Myers-Briggs, that has to do with all the choices you've made in your life and how it impacts the answers to those questions. And those answers to those questions in the Myers-Briggs test will change over time based upon which hormone is dominant in all of your life experiences. So now I'm thinking like, okay, and I'm thinking, why is there only like 4 or 5 different, personality types? Why is it that we only have this many? I'm like, humanity is so diverse, but why only a certain amount of personality types? And I'm like, what the hell? That just didn't make sense to me with how diverse our population is. Wouldn't you think there'd be a billion different, yes, Kevin. Wouldn't it be a billion different personality types? Yeah, I've been waking up at 6, Kevin. So yeah, it's crazy. No, the reason why there's only like a handful of personality types is because we're dealing with a certain amount of hormones in a universal body. So all humans are the same. The only difference is how the environment impacted their external, like their aesthetics, their outside look, like their skin, their hair, even their build. But even their build, it could be based upon, the hormones that are present and what kind of foods that are influencing those hormones. Okay. So now you're like, okay, so now it makes sense. So when someone says like, oh yeah, you're born in February, this is, there's a specific Aquarian type of personality. Well, that probably has to, they say it's the sun. How does that sun and then the seasons, the external environment, how does that influence your hormones? And then if somebody is extremely hormonal, whatever the case may be, that season is going to influence them in a specific way. And so in the Western world, when we out the gate, we're circumcising our babies and vaccinating them. And then all these hormones are coming to surface. And then you put them in different regions of the country, but they still have certain, like if you were born at dark, then there's, that has an influence versus being born during the day. Being born in February has a difference than being born in August for the Western world. Though I don't know how that's going to work out in Australia, because Australia, you're born in February, and that's a complete opposite season. So, I mean, there really is no major amount of truth when it comes to astrology. It's fun. And also, when somebody is reading their horoscope, like anything that you read, whatever it is, it influences your perception of who you are. No different than when someone calls you stupid when you're a kid and you're highly influential or highly influenced and highly suggestible. Okay? No difference than when you go to school and they have you pegged to be a certain way. Okay? So when you read your horoscope, it colors your day. If it says that your horoscope today, you're going to have a really bad day, and all of a sudden you're reading this, then yeah, of course, you're going to fulfill that. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. No different than when you read what you read on the internet tells you kind of the state you're in, because that's what you're gravitating towards, is the specific stories on the internet. So the horoscopes are no different than just reading a story and believing it and then making it happen and real in your world. So that would make sense why Myers-Briggs personality test exists, because that's how these psychotherapists and psychologists, that's how they're able, that's how they work with their people. They figure out, because the reason why you go see them is because you have a hormonal imbalance somewhere. And then they're trying to figure out, okay, what caused this hormonal imbalance and how can we kind of keep the hormones at bay even through talk therapy? And then if it's a major condition, then they bring in the big guns, they bring in the prescription drugs, and then they'll really program you with prescription drugs that are hormones. Okay, so now it all makes sense. I mean, now I understand how the world actually freaking works. And then the why I was so drawn to Myers-Briggs and astrology, trying to understand who I am, because I was reading everything about Aquarius. I was reading everything about the tiger personality. And I'll tell you what, I did fit a lot of characteristics back when I was when I was in my 20s. Very late 20s, early 30s. And I'm just like to my friends, oh my God, I'm a tiger. I got to go find me a horseman. I got to go find me a dog. And I'm dating this pig and it's really cool. But, and I would find very similar characteristics to the people that I were dating and people that I was hanging out with. And I would see that it was like, it made sense. And then it also makes sense that how people are raised in the West and how they were brought in the world is all the same way. They bring up hormones, they circumcise them, or, the girl goes through some kind of trauma because you put him into preschool, or the trauma of vaccines. Okay, so that brings up hormones, and then, my gosh, and then, and then that does get influenced by the different seasons and when you're born, and so it's just, there's a lot of things that contribute. I mean, obviously, if you just look back at just when a baby is conceived and what's going on with the mother, and then all of the different medical practices like ultrasound, vaccines, amniocentesis, all of that, circumcision for guys, all of that contributes to bringing up the hormones. And then when you're born, during a time of day and the season and all of that will then contribute to probably some of the correct characteristics of a person born during this month, though it's not always across the board. And that's what they say. It's not for sure. It's all gospel. You shouldn't really believe all that, Jillian. And well, yeah. No, but I'm seeing these characteristics. I'm like, oh my gosh, tigers are awesome. They're the leaders. They're the ones that are the general. But but with the leader in general that leaps without looking, needs to have good generals or good sergeants under him or beside him to make sure that they don't leap without and you don't fall into hot water without getting pulled out by somebody in your world, right? And that was a lot of my life. I never really looked too much before I leaped. I just leaped and went with it, and then hoped to God that I survived it, and I had enough people in my world to help me pull me out of that situation. And my mom was the major one that a few times where I had to be pulled out of a situation. Other than that, I pulled myself out. So yeah, I mean, I have blow my nose. So that's, how I was trying to figure out everybody was through their hormones. I didn't even know it. So that's what I'm saying with the English language. It's so deceptive because, everything is built around your hormones and how it manifests and then the different influences. ADHD girl, yeah, I know, right? And how it influences everything and how it colors your perceptions and how it drives your choices in life. And of course, it contributes to the cancer, disease, and chronic illness in this world too. I mean, I didn't realize how hormones influenced every single aspect, just even the fun stuff. So yeah, it does take the fun out of the horoscope world when you look at the environment, how everything is connected. Like, say, oh yeah, it's in the stars. It's not in the stars. It's your hormones that do. When you have an adrenaline hormone, then you're going to have more of a tiger personality. Maybe being born during the cold. When you're being born during the cold, it brings up a hormone, okay, that creates all this energy. It's adrenaline. Like the polar bear club, when they go jump into some really, really cold water, it puts stress on the body. And then a hormone is present and a personality is present. So, no, I understand, Kevin. I believe me. I've heard, yeah, I hear about them being vague and all that. And they're using you to pick up and tell you what's going on. And you're like, oh, wow, that's really awesome. Yeah. So that would make sense. And so when someone that has hormones being manipulated right out of the gate at birth, and also too, if the mother is highly adrenalized, if the mother has been through some trauma, those hormones are present at birth, and that stress gets passed on to the child. So already the kid is already being influenced by hormones right there, and then during the time of day, as well as what season, because you're seeing how aggressive these seasons are. Summer is super hot over here in Ohio. Winter is like super cold. You're born in this kind of climate, that creates stress on the body, and it will manipulate a hormone that is present. Springtime, is another. I mean, I was looking at some of the personality types, like Scorpio, which is in November. My dad's a Scorpio, and he has all those characteristics of a hormone present during that time. And they have Scorpios in this book that I was reading, and they were all dark, mysterious. They look like vampires because they had like the widow's peak, and that's how they described Scorpio people. And I'm like, what the hell? Are they all vampires or something? But I couldn't figure out. Then I realized that, yeah, when you're born in a time of when it's fall and it's on the verge of winter and it's dark, the seasons are changing, the time is changing, all that stuff. That contributes to, like a dark type of presence if a hormone is present. And if you're also a guy too, and you're circumcised, so then you're already under stress, and then you're born in a time where it's stressful to the environment. It's the death process. Well, it makes sense to have them look like they're mysterious dead people, walking around that are Scorpios. I mean, and now it kind of makes sense why they had those illustrations replicate that type of persona, being born in a time that is dark, and then you have already the hormones present. So it's such a trip figuring out this world. And then the reason why it's only 4 different personalities or 5 or whatever, how many personality types I figured out, is because it's based upon the hormones and then the society that you live in. Now, they have Eastern culture type of astrology. Okay, so we're coming into the year of the pig. All right. The year of the pig is riches, and I mean, you look up the year of the pig, you look up pig personalities. And And that's a self-fulfilling prophecy. When you're saying, oh, it's a pig year, it's a year of this and that. It, if no matter what, whether it's a pig year, a snake year, a horse year, if your internal universe is well balanced, those types of things are not going to influence you. They're just not. Because you're not going to let it. The only time these things influence a person is because they're highly hormonal and they're easily suggestible. No different than reading stuff on the internet and believing it and living your life through it. Hey, Tiffany Lee Krim, thank you. So yeah, I mean, that's all the horoscopes are. No matter what, even forget the horoscopes for a minute, just look at your life. If you're well balanced in your internal universe, it won't matter what happens around you. You're going to survive and you're going to get to the next level regardless of the different influences. Now, you may have to be more strategic around how you get to your goal because of the different influences. And sometimes you may have some negative forces out there that will try to put up roadblocks just because that's how life happens, right? No different than when you go into a more polluted area, it's going to affect your homeostasis, but you're always going to balance that out. You're always going to find ways to make sure you get back to equilibrium. So, when you fall down, you get back up again. You go down this route instead of that route. That's what happens when you are well balanced, is you don't give up. You don't say that this first time that you tried something didn't work, that's it, that's the end all be all, it's broken. No, you find your personality type with this protocol is you're not going to give up. You're going to try a different way of getting to the same goal. And that's how you achieve your goals, even with roadblocks. Like, you don't let your one alarm clock and blame your life on that one alarm clock. You set two if you know that you're a heavy sleeper. But with this protocol, I mean, I'm jumping out of bed at 6 in the morning, like ready to meet the day. My dog's like, what? I'm always awake before my dog. So, so you will be the one now to influence your universe, and you'll be the one to learn how to roll with the punches in your universe. You're not going to be dictated by somebody else's influence and plan for you. This is where the power of the protocol comes into play, because now you're going to be so well balanced. You're going to have all your faculties back. You're going to have your mental clarity of mind. You're going to have your physical ability be right there waiting for you right when the time is right. You're not going to go need to work out and build muscles. If you want to get a six-pack to attract a mate, hey, that's great. Just don't let it undermine you. But, you have plenty of time on this earth. There's no reason to try to get everything all at once happen like today. Okay, you know your priorities. You got to go to work. Got to take care of your husband and your dogs and your kid. And you take care of yourself too, because no matter what, you have to take care of yourself. How can you take care of everybody else and your job and everything else if you can't even take care of yourself? So you really should come first. In some form or another, you have to take time for yourself first. And then, and there's ways in which you can elicit help that's going to be safe for you and your kids, so that way you can heal. You find the right people in your life to help support you. If you have 10 kids that all have to go to different places, and don't use Uber to transport your kids to different soccer events or whatever it is they do in school. Okay? But find something to where you can have your kids be taken care of while you're being taken care of. Because I'll tell you what, when you have a lot of kids, I could see why things like this protocol wasn't invented by a mother. There's no way that she would have been able to handle and figure this out with kids at her every, if I had a kid, how would I have done this? There'd been no way. I've been so much about my kid reacting to their colds and their flus and their issues and all of this. There'd been no room for me to have this. And then having a husband, then having a dog. There's probably a reason why they're pushing for families, to keep y'all distracted and going to work and going to school and feeding into consumerism. When you're so busy, there's no room to think about anything. And then when you are thinking and you have time to think, then that's either you're in jail, so then you're hit by hormones, or you're on the, or now, with people that aren't doing Jilly Juice protocol and they're alone, they're trying to look for a mate. They're on Tinder, they're on Match.com. That's what I was doing when I was alone and had a job and I wasn't doing Jilly Juice back in my 20s. I was on online dating, talking to people, private messaging. And I did have a years of private messaging, instant messaging, going to bars, playing pool, trying to fill up my time with meaningless shit. Okay, so when you have hormones present, you're going to want to have an outlet for your hormones. When your hormones are at bay, you're not going to be feeding into the regular stuff people feed into, the bars, the movies, the malls, the amusement parks, the concerts, the activism. That's all going to be like once in a while, once in a blue moon, if at all. I haven't been to a bar, and if I have, it's for, a friend's birthday or something. I don't think I've been to someone's house where they're all drinking, but that's about it. But I really haven't been to a bar. I haven't been to a concert. I haven't been to an amusement park in a while. I haven't been to anything really that induces a lot of hormones. I've been to movies maybe once or twice, a few times. But I really have no desire. Sometimes I want to go to the mall just because I haven't been to a mall in a while. But then that feeling just kind of disappears. But I remember a few years ago, I'm like telling my husband, we got to go to a mall. And he hates the mall. He's an outdoorsman. He'd rather go fishing or go hunting or something. And I'm like, I got to go to the mall. I need to get my fix. I got to go to the mall. Or I need a waffle. These are the things that when you're driven by a hormone to where, it affects if you don't get that expectation that your hormone gets fed into, then it makes you a mad person. So when someone gets triggered, or when, it's because someone fed into a hormone that you didn't want really to come to surface, or when you want something, you get fixated on something, the obsessive compulsive, that's all the hormones. The OCD is all the hormones that are present that are throwing you off balance. So remember how fixated I was on one thing, and I wouldn't, and if he didn't do what I wanted to do, I'd just be like a screaming temper tantrum type of person. And now, I'll say, oh, yeah, let's go to the mall, and we don't. It's not a big deal. It's not like I need them all. But when you do get so mad that you don't get something met, and it gets so angry, it's because that's that hormone that is in control. That hormone. And yeah, and parasites definitely do have a play, because parasites have a personality too. There's a lot of things going on in your system. The parasites, the hormones, the fungus, the different foreign objects and the bacteria, and then there's you and all of your experiences and all of the damage that's been done to you and your mutations. All of that contribute to your biochemistry, and that's what creates your personality. So do a Myers-Briggs test now, just to kind of see where you're at now, that you're not healed and sealed yet, and just to see what your answers are. And then do the Myers-Briggs test 2 years later, when your hormones have calmed down. You're not highly suggestible. You're making different choices. So when you make different choices, your answers are going to be different. Okay? So, and then that will determine your personality based upon your hormones. That's a trip. So the connections are being made, guys. And everything. And so when you guys take a psychology class, they're going to have fancy words for all of their different diagnoses, all of their different methodologies, all of their different concepts to get you to understand how the human body works or how humans operate. And they'll say, oh, yeah, when this person was abused here, it created this here, and then it did this here. When really, yeah, when someone was abused, it created a hormone. Here's a physiological explanation of what happened. Okay? It created a hormone, and those hormones colored your perception on life, and it has you make these choices. So what would happen if you got those hormones at bay? Oh, wait, I already see it. I'm making different choices based upon my hormones. Okay? So then your personality type is going to change. Everything is going to change. And that's what really it blew me away, that I was an ENFP in my 20s, and now I'm an ENTJ. And let me tell you I'll tell you what that is. The difference between judging and perceiving. ENT or ENFP. It's ENF, no, it's ENFJ, not ENTJ. Okay, ENFP, personality. Okay, so portrait, and I'll just tell you what those things mean. All right. Oh my God, these connections are not private. So back when I was younger, I was the creative idealist. Okay. So dominant function. So the ENFP's functional stack. This is in my 20s. A dominant function, extroverted intuition. Auxiliary function, introverted feeling. Tertiary function, extroverted thinking. Inferior function, introverted sensing. Okay, so it is extroverted, intuitive, feeling, and perceiving. So that's what that means. And yeah, and then let's look at, so what does perceiving mean? Because I don't like that. I was explaining. Perceiving, ENFP. Okay. Judging or perceiving. Now I'm judging. Okay. So I'm ENFJ. Okay, here we go. So before in my 20s, I used to I use my perceive function. Let's see. Perceiving is when I was a kid, I like to stay open and respond to whatever happens. I appear to be loose and casual. I like to keep plans to a minimum. I like to approach work as play or mix work and play. I work in bursts of energy. I am stimulated by an approaching deadline. Yeah, the stress. Sometimes I stay open to new information, so as long as I miss making decisions when they are needed. Okay. So that is the perceiving. So now what's the judging? The judging is now what I am today, because I took, not today, but probably like a few years ago, or like a year or so ago. I like to have things decided. Yes, that's me today. I appear to be task-oriented. That's right. I like to make lists of things to do. I like to get my work done before playing. Absolutely. I plan to work to avoid rushing just before a deadline. Right. I plan work to avoid rushing. This is all proactivity. Sometimes I focus so much on the goal that I miss new information. Well, that's not me. So, and if I were to retake that again, I would probably have a different, and I should take it again just to see, okay, and see if I come up with a totally different personality type. So, so yeah, it's a little interesting how those personality types are influenced by hormones. And this is why it's incumbent, if you want your kids to be very successful in life, you get them on this protocol so they can level out their hormones so they can be successful. Right now we have kids coming out of the gate full of hormones. Like they're being manipulated right at birth. They're being manipulated right when they're getting the vaccines, when they're going, to school, when they're thrown into a gladiator type situation. Not all schools are like that. Some schools, they have more of a handle on kids, but other schools, it's like a gladiator type situation. And so it's like fight or flight, and they have to, kill or be killed type of thing. Okay. So, and then if you're born in a really bad neighborhood and you're raised in a very bad neighborhood like the ghetto, then you're always on adrenaline, fight or flight. And so I'm telling you guys that even no matter where you guys are born, no matter where you guys are, whether it's a war-torn country, but it can't be too much of a war-torn country because you got to have salt and you got to have jars, you got to have cabbage, you got to have some semblance of civilization that it's not an upheaval. Okay. And And it won't matter really how aggressive some environments are. And then you'll probably run away from too aggressive environments. Oh, my husband's home. Ha 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 ha. Hey, honey, I'm on Facebook Live. Good morning. but but anyway, so my husband's home. He just got home. He drove all night. Good morning. But but yeah, just take the test, right? Like take the test now that your guys are like all mutated, and then take the test later, like in a couple years. And it's not even in a different mood because your answers are still being the same. It's more about the major change in your biochemistry. Because even when you have a different mood, you're still going to answer the questions the way in which your mind would say to do it. Do it now and then do it in a couple years after you've been on the protocol for a while. You will see your choices change. Right now, even if you're in a different mood, it's still going to most likely have the same, because I've done it before and I still came up as an ENFJ or ENFP or whatever. All right, well, I'm going to go, but you guys have an awesome, awesome day. Thanks for listening. I'll talk to you later. Bye. All right. So how was it?